Hello, and welcome to an intro to Anthro with two humans. I'm human number one, John McCray.
And I'm human number two, John Lehr.
And this is the podcast where we reassess what it means to be human. And the title of today's episode is Minnie the Moochers, the codependent relationship between parasites and humans. and John, first of all, today's title is Minnie, M-A-N-Y, the Moochers. Which is a reference to the 1931 jazz song Minnie the Moocher.
Yes, which was also in the Blues Brothers.
In the Blues, Cab Calloway performed it. He played the character of Curtis in the Blues Brothers. And remember, it got kind of crazy that it was like a fantasy sequence. Remember?
Right. Yes. The movie kind of came off the wheels right around the which makes sense when you start to read about what was going on set. They were all just out of their minds.
Yeah. But remember, I love it. He's like killing time because the Blues Brothers are trying to get to wherever that it was supposed to be up in Wisconsin somewhere.
Right. And they're being chased by the Nazis. They're being chased by Carrie Fisher with a high-powered rifle.
Right.
There's all kinds of people after them.
And that's when suddenly Curtis, Cab Calloway, decides that he's hit it, boys, and then it just switches. Remember, they're all in white tuxedos and everything.
Yeah.
But today we're going to be talking about Minnie, M-A-N-Y, the Moochers, plural.
A lot of Moochers.
Right. Because there are so many parasites that we, as humans, that we have to deal with.
Goddamn right. And I know that mosquitoes are not a parasite, are they? Or do they qualify? I mean, they drink our blood.
Right. I've came across a few things where some people say like the parasite has to live on you for a long time. I would classify them as parasites.
Really?
Myself.
Okay. I'm not. I would not classify them because to me the thing that creeps me out the most about parasites is that they're on me.
Right.
That's the thing that just But the mosquito I was just reading today is the number one, has killed more humans than any other creature on the earth, which makes so much sense, but you just don't think about it. If I were to say what animal has killed more humans than any other animal, I doubt most people would say, but they even think that maybe it's killed half of all humans that have ever existed who have been killed by mosquitoes.
Way to go, mosquito. Let's see. A bear can't say that. Definitely not a shark, I don't think.
Nope. No. Isn't that incredible?
That is incredible. I never thought about that. Millions, probably hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Hats off, mosquito.
Yeah, way to go, mosquito.
But first, John, also, we have a little business to take care of.
Yes, we do. This is a banner day for Intro to Anthro.
And the reason is you and I have a sponsor.
We have a sponsor.
Watson and Company socks.
Yeah, I would do the but I've somehow deleted that from our thing, so I had to go with the rim shot.
Everything we do has a rim shot.
That just sure does. That's all I got now. Or I have this.
Oh, that. Welcome to Intro to Anthro with two humans, with your hosts John Lehr and John McCray. That's. When we take it to network, that's what it is. But anyway, the people at Watson and Company Socks listen to this show.
Mm-hmm.
And like all of our listeners, I said it before, I always think that all of our listeners are, from the emails and the messages I get, are very funny, very brilliant.
And good looking.
Yeah, let's add that too. Very good looking people, judging from their emails.
Hot. Like our listeners are like pieces of ass, they're just whoa, smoking.
When they use some emojis, you could just tell.
When an Intro to Anthro listener walks into a room, everything stops.
They look around. You can't take their eyes off.
Nope. Everybody's undressing the intro to Anthro listener.
But anyway, they reached out and they wanted to sponsor us.
Isn't that sweet? And they sent us samples. And the socks are really great, aren't they?
They're really good socks. They're really good socks.
Comfy, good socks.
Yeah. And you know, when you first sent me, because I contacted you first, when you sent me the email or forwarded it to me, the message, I thought it was for somebody who wanted us to do an episode on socks.
Well, that would be good.
Yeah. So I was already had put it on the list and was thinking about all the books about socks I was going to have to buy. And then I realized, like, no, wait, this is Watson Company Socks. They want to sponsor us. You know it. I lost your audio there.
There, I'm back. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties, people.
Okay. And so anyway, we may have to do an episode on socks.
Yes.
I think at some point.
I think that's a great idea.
And
defining a sock, I think, is going to be tough. That's going to be half the podcast.
Right. And we may have to get Bradley Watson, who's the designer from Watson and Company Socks, to come on and talk about what makes a good sock.
That's great. That's a great idea.
And to go back, you know, I've always been a sock guy, believe it or not.
Yeah, you gave me some advice when I got married. You said you should always get married in new underwear, socks, and new shoes, or new really shoe, not new shoes.
Your own shoe, definitely your own shoe.
Yeah, not the rental shoes. Right.
And if you remember back in Chicago in the 1990s, around the time I was doing Crunch Smash Trash, Monster Machines That Recycle. And my
video.
My partner at the time and I were trying to think of other projects that we could work on. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I pitched him, and this was 30 years ago, I said, why don't we do a catalog with nothing but socks from around the world? Just unique socks, you know.
See, now that was all pre-internet. You were already thinking like your brain is perfect for the internet, because now you could have a website that's socks from around the world, right? And you'd have an Instagram and take different socks from different parts of the world. I mean, it's genius.
Yeah. And the idea was, you know, we'd write up a little something about, we'd write up the history of the sock, who produces it, the culture that produces it. It'd be kind of like the J. Peterman catalog,
right?
Only just for socks,
just socks.
You know, and I had visions of me traveling the world,
trying on socks,
seeking out like artisanal sock makers around the world, like going up into the Himalayas or something, you know. And of course, it didn't go over too well with my partner. He was the money guy, and there was no way
he was like, "No, we're not doing socks."
Right.
It was your first rejected pitch. All right, now imagine this: socks from around the world, and he just leans back and folds his arms.
I know. Mm-hmm. That was the first of many rejected pitches that I would.
What's one thing most people have on right now? You'd open with something like that.
Yeah. Now imagine. Let me set the scene. It's you go out to get your mail. And as you open your mailbox, you reach in, and there's a catalog with something fuzzy on the outside, or whatever it is. And then you open it up, and it's like something you really want to read.
Yeah, this isn't just a catalog that you flip through. This is something that really brings you in.
Yeah, you keep this catalog.
Yeah, you
collect them almost like National Geographics.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
or Playboys.
Yeah, it didn't go over well. But now here it is 30 years later, socks have come back into my life.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
The worm eats its own tail, you know?
But I want to say they are good socks. They're great socks.
Oh my God. Here's how I know how good they are. When he sent them to me, they immediately disappeared out of my drawer, and my kids just stole them all. See, when you're a parent, everything that's of any value, I think I've said this before, anything that's of any value is immediately taken from you.
Yeah. I could see why they would like it because first of all, they're well made.
Yeah.
They're comfortable, and it's the colors. Yes. I was like blown away by the colors because they're all a bunch of unique colors.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, my daughter absconded with most of them.
So I think back to my shrink one time when I was in therapy. Used to always say to me, he was like, "Well, how are things going?" And I'd be like, "Well, I'm doing pretty good. I realize now things aren't always black and white. Sometimes they're gray. There's some grays in there." Mm-hmm. And his response was like, "Grays? What about greens and oranges and reds and blue?" It's like that was like such a huge leap for me to come to grays.
Yeah.
And so his point was like metaphorically was, there's all kinds of different nuance and colors in the world.
In life. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank God you found that guy. He really saved your ass.
He did save my ass.
Yeah. I mean, he really did. And you're not easy. You would not be easy to shrink.
Oh,
because you found the right guy, and he was like your first shrink, right?
I know.
I mean, that's amazing, really.
Yeah. And stuck with me through the whole thing. Like got me through like a divorce and all kinds of stuff.
And you were a hell of a lot easier to be around. I should give him some money or something. I should thank him personally.
I should send him some socks.
I've spent so much time with you that I feel like I should send him I'll send him some socks.
But the thing is, to me, colors are very symbolic because of that.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I like to wear vibrant colors now to kind of show how my life has opened up and I'm feeling everything, sadness, happiness, everything.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about these socks because there's just like really cool looking oranges and yellows and all kinds of different colors.
True.
Moss greens.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. They perk your day up when you put them on, and they're well made. Really well made. How do we direct people to order them?
So you can go to watson-co.square.site. So it's Watson and Company socks. You can find them. There's a lot of different, I would say just kind of, if you can Google them or just like I say, Watson, WATSON -co.square.site. And you can check them out online. I think they're also on Facebook as well.
I just Googled Watson and Company socks and it all came up.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
The other thing we have to say though is since we now have a sponsor, you might see our episodes taking a little sock-centric.
Yes. We've got sock puppets coming up. We've got the history of the stockings that you hang on Christmas Eve.
Nylon stockings. Neanderthals and what Neanderthals wore as for socks.
Armed robberies, wearing socks, stockings over your head.
Yeah. And just so I would say, if I were ever to meet a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch, as a peace offering, I might give them a pair of Watson and Company socks.
Oh my God! Yeah, that would blow their mind. Can you imagine being barefoot your whole life and then putting on a pair of brand new socks? Oh,
and they're trendy too. You'll know.
Yeah. Oh, it's such an important article of clothing, and we just don't think about it.
I know. I'm really not into I'm not into stereos or cars or anything, but boots and socks.
Yeah, boots. Yeah, and if you wear boots, you got to have good socks, or you're screwed.
Right. All right. So Watson and Company socks. Thank you again. I encourage our listeners to go check it out. They're good socks, and they're listeners of the show.
We love you, Watson and Company Socks. Thanks for joining as our very first sponsor.
That really works you up. I mean, that sound
it gets us both going. Yeah, we're like ready to hold up a liquor store or something.
What is it? We only have two audio effects, right?
Yeah, I lost the third one, and I don't know how to get it back.
All right, so John, let's move on to today's topic, which is parasites. And I'm not sure if you saw it, but last week in all the major news outlets, there was a big story about 9 members of a family in South Dakota who had become infected with parasitic worms after eating bear meat.
Oh God! Well, and yeah, I thought you were gonna. And Robert Kennedy Jr. Yeah. He's got worms in his head.
Yeah, that was the other story. They found a dead worm in his brain that had been eating on his brain.
God damn!
But according to the articles in The Guardian and The Hill, in the summer of 2022, and I don't understand why it took 2 years for this story to come out so big. I think it's because the CDC finally came out with the report on the incident. But the family members had all been to a dinner where the host or one of the guests had brought bear kebabs.
Ooh.
and they had killed the bear in northern Saskatchewan, Canada, earlier in the year of 2022. And they had done everything right. Like they had frozen the meat for over 30 days. I think they said they had over 45 days, which is one of the things you do with wild game to kill parasites.
Jesus.
But this one, this parasite, which was Trichinella nativa, which is a type of roundworm.
Oh God.
was from northern Canada. So it was like freezer resistant. It was used. It evolved.
It evolved.
Yeah.
Oh.
It probably, compared to northern Canada in the winter, being in somebody's freezer was probably
that's like Hawaii.
Yeah, it was downright balmy. You know what I mean?
Woo!
Yeah.
All those worms kicking back, putting their feet up, having a Corona.
And so anyway, the family grilled up some bear meat along with some vegetables at the time.
Oh my God.
Because they were kebabs, remember? So you have like onion, you have tomato, everything. And
woke up the worms.
Yeah, and because bear meat is very dark, it's a dark meat.
Yeah.
The CDC reported that the family couldn't tell how done the meat was.
Oh boy.
Okay.
So they ate it raw?
They ate very rare, or they ended up eating.
If there's one thing you want to overcook, it's bear. They shouldn't have barbecued it. That was their problem right there. They should have put it in a slow cooker for like 10 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that would have even killed these things, but
no, but I mean, it would have tasted better than raw bear meat. Jesus,
I don't know. I guess people don't eat it enough to know, like, hey, this is really rare.
Yeah,
like, hey, something's wrong with it.
It's a little chewy.
Yeah, and I've read different things. Like some people say they hate bear meat, and some people say they like bear meat. I've never had bear meat. Have you?
Yeah, no. God, no. I will never have bear meat.
They say it depends on what the bear has been eating.
Oh, I can tell this episode is going to be rough. This is going to be a rough one.
Yeah, we haven't even started. We haven't even gotten into the whole thing. You want to talk about socks some more?
Yeah, it was so comfy and relaxing. And now suddenly we're talking about bear meat.
If it gets too much, let me know and we'll go back to socks.
Okay.
We'll talk about Watson and Company
to drop in on some socks every now and then.
But according to The Hill, a few weeks after that family get-together in July 2022, one of the family members was hospitalized with a fever, severe soreness, and swelling around the eyes.
Ooh, swelling around the eyes and soreness. Where's the soreness? Around the eyes too?
And all the muscles and in the face.
Man, soreness. That's weird.
And they were diagnosed with trichinellosis, which is trichinellosis is a roundworm infection that comes from eating raw or uncooked meat contaminated with the parasite trichinella.
Jesus.
Okay. And again, people usually get it from eating undercooked pork. You know, you always hear people about like cooked pork.
Yeah. Cook your pork, people.
Yeah, but you also get it from eating undercooked wild game. But what was unusual in this case was the people who, even the people who hadn't eaten the bear, who had just eaten some of the vegetables, you know, like they were like, "Hey, I'm a vegetarian. I'm not going to eat the bear."
Oh, yeah. And they got it too.
So the worms had migrated from the bear meat onto the vegetables.
How long were they cooking this thing? Yeah, I'm going to cook it at 100 degrees. 100? I don't know. Nope, I'm going to slow barbecue it.
It just sounds awful.
I'm going to cook it at 100 degrees for 2 hours.
And anyway, the Hill says that the usual symptoms of trichinellosis include nausea, vomiting, headaches, and seizures.
Oh, Lord.
But the worms and the larvae can also move into the muscle tissues and organs, including the brain, heart, lungs, and spinal cord.
Oh, so it's not so bad.
Well, you come around.
Yeah, okay, that's all.
And you know, I was thinking that I would have eaten the bear meat. Like if somebody brought bear meat.
Yeah, I'd probably try it too. If it's there, you know, it's like, well, here we go. But not now. Now I'm never eating any game ever again.
Anytime somebody brings something unusual like elk or deer to work, because, you know, out here in a lot of hunters out here in New Mexico.
Yeah.
And so there's always somebody bringing an antelope jerky or something. And I'll put that stuff in my mouth immediately. Just to say I tried it. You know what I mean? You know, like even if I wouldn't even know, I'd probably be like, oh yeah, that bear is great. You know?
Yep.
And then I was thinking, didn't you in Quick Draw, you and Bob did a scene with a bear?
Yes, we attacked a bear. A bear attacked us, and then we killed it. And that the whole episode was written just for that scene. I mean, that's how. Oftentimes we would just be like, "God, let's have a bear attack," and then we'd write a whole episode just to have a bear attack. God, that was fun. It was a guy and a bear, and he was sweaty. Boy, was he sweaty after.
I watched it again recently just to see that scene, and it's hilarious. I mean, it's shot so well when that bear comes into frame.
Yeah, because we didn't want to keep the camera on the bear too long, and you'd know it was a guy in a bear suit. So we just did these quick shots where the bear just so funny.
It looks like at one point he's trying to punch you, even, or whether maybe he forgot he was in a bear suit when he was attacking you.
I should look at that again.
Yeah. And then and then Bob kills him with a garrote. Remember?
Yeah. Because, and this is where you came in, because he was in the special forces in the Civil War, and you gave us the name. What was it? There was a name of the group.
Yeah, some Rangers or something.
Yeah. Anyway, you were the one who provided that because you were a historical consultant.
But yeah, it's very funny. But
that was fun.
And coming back to being poisoned by meat, one time when I was working in LA, and remember I worked for a government office, a large government office on many different floors. And we'd always have potlucks. There was always a potluck going on out there.
Wow.
And for something or other. And one time we were having a potluck, and I got caught on the phone, and I couldn't get on. And by the time I got down to the potluck, all the ribs were gone. Like I said, they had eaten all the ribs, and everybody was talking about how good they were. And if there's something I love, it's ribs.
Yes. You know. Yes. I'm right there with you.
And it ended up being a good thing, because the next day, come to find out, everybody who ate the ribs got food poisoning.
You dodged a bullet.
I know, and I would have been like filling up my plate with the ribs. But
so was your office just empty the next day? Was everybody home just puking? Man.
So the person, they felt terrible about it, but they had frozen the ribs and then thawed them out and then frozen them again.
What?
And then thawed them out and then prepared them to bring into the office.
What? Why freeze them twice?
I don't know what they were going to make them and then decide not to make them.
You can't refreeze. You can't do that.
You can't. It poisoned a quarter of our office. A quarter of our office was out.
Wow. Yeah. Thank God nobody died.
I know.
Can you imagine?
That'd be awful. Yeah. And then after that, I mean, to be the person that brought it in, I'm sure.
Oh, because everybody they would just hate venom.
Just awful. And you know how office potlucks are. People would just go crazy. They'll eat anything.
Free food.
You've said it out there. People will eat it. You know what I mean? But I was thinking, John, this must have happened a lot in prehistory or even in historical times.
Yeah.
When humans were scrounging around trying to stay alive.
Oh, yeah. Eating carrion and God knows what we'd eat back then.
You people were getting sick all the time. Having worms all the time, you know.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah. And so I went and just to double check, and sure enough, Otzi the Iceman, who we've talked about before.
Yes, we have.
They found that his stomach contained whipworm eggs.
Ooh. Whipworm eggs.
Yeah.
What are whipworms? I mean, I get it. They're like whipping.
Yeah. They have that tail that they're whipping around to move and migrate throughout your body. But it again, stomach cramps, diarrhea, blood in the stool, things like that.
Yeah.
And in the textbook Archaeology, Colin Renfrew and Paul Bond note that parasites have also been found in Egyptian mummies.
Oh, man.
And Renfrew and Bond say that wherever soft tissue survives, we can usually find parasites.
Wow.
Yeah.
There. I mean, and there's creatures living all over us. Didn't
you? You did. Can you tell? You pitched an idea.
Yes,
right?
We pitched an animated idea about all the things that live on the human body, and like it's a whole world. We had there's a microscopic creature called the Demodex, which lives on your eyelashes. Most people have a Demodex, and they've discovered that they've started to eat mascara. That Demodexes have they actually eat the mascara. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, they're eyelash follicle mites.
Yes,
I think is what and they look like a worm with legs on them.
Yes, and they just grab onto one of your hairs, eyelash hair, right, and then bury its head down in the follicle.
Oh, doing research for this, anything that's looked at under electron microscope.
Forget it.
It looks terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Forget it. Like those things that look like bears that can survive even space, those, I forgot what those things are called.
Yeah. Ooh. Did you, who were you playing? You played one of the characters, right?
I played a dust mite. Yeah,
oh, really?
I played a dust mite. And dust mites don't live on us, but they'll jump on for a while and jump off. But we took some creative license and kept them on the body the whole time.
How did you develop your character for the dust mite? Did you try to think like the personality of a dust mite? Or
I don't do a lot of deep thinking when it comes to characters.
It was an aspect of you, maybe. Did you try to identify with it?
Like every character I play, it's just me in a costume.
All right. So, Did you guys do a pilot for that?
Yeah, we did.
A full
we
episode?
No, it wasn't a full episode, but it was like a sizzle kind of thing. That's really funny. The bar, the local bar, was down around the. It was a guy. The body was a guy.
Yeah,
and so it was around his genital, his penis was like so it was like a round bar around it. You never saw it, but they were always.
I don't know why that didn't go.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I don't either.
That seems like that would be hilarious.
It's funny, like Cartoon Network or something,
Yeah. How about maybe a graphic novel? You could do a cartoon. You could do a cartoon or a comic book.
I'd do that.
All right. Were they wearing socks? They have lots of feet.
Yes, we had them in clothes, and they did wear socks. Yes, they did. The show was called Critters.
Really? Oh, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So back to Renfrew and Bond, they say that all Egyptian mummies have parasites, like I mentioned, including parasites that cause amoebic dysentery and bilharzia, which is also called schistosomiasis.
Jesus.
And the World Health Organization says that schistosomiasis is caused by a freshwater parasitic blood fluke.
What's a blood fluke?
It's like a worm.
Oh,
it's like a little worm
that drinks her blood, that lives on the blood.
Yeah. And they say that the microscopic adult worms live in the veins, draining the urinary tract and intestines in humans.
All right. I don't have a problem with that. They can have it.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, as long as they don't bother me.
Well, eventually I think they would. So most of the eggs they lay are trapped in the tissues, and the body's reaction to them can cause massive damage.
No, okay. Forget that.
And approximately 240 million people around the world are infected with schistosomiasis or affected by it. And in the evolutionary and prehistory, the human challenge, it's a textbook. William Haviland and others say that the blood fluke alternates between snails and humans.
God.
So it just goes back and forth between snails and humans.
Weird. Snails and humans.
Yeah, and they say if humans swim, wade, or do household chores such as laundry in infested water, the parasite can bore its way through the skin, traveling to the intestine or bladder.
God damn. That's wrong.
Yeah. And they say that for people who live in areas where schistosomiasis is normal, over time, the forces of evolution generally lead to a tolerance between parasite and host so that infected individuals can live normal lives.
Right. So it's symbiotic.
Yeah. But Haviland and others also note, so accustomed are some scientists to this, or some societies to this parasitic infection, that the appearance of bloody urine at the time of adolescence due to a high enough parasite load to cause this symptom is regarded as a male version of menstruation.
Wow.
So you just expect that at some point you're going to have so many of these worms in your body that you'll have blood in your urine.
Oh my God. And it's just and it's just folded into the culture.
Right. Ugh. And Renfrew and Bond also note that whipworm and roundworm eggs have also been found in mummies in the New World, which we discuss in one of our episodes.
Yep.
And they say that the Grauballe man, who was a bog mummy in Denmark who was found in 1952, had millions of whipworm eggs inside him.
God. I'm not gonna. If when time travel gets invented, I'm not going. Yeah. I'm not going.
Yeah, it's awful.
I don't want to see how horrible it was. God.
All of us with worms.
Everybody's got worms, and you're filthy, and God.
Also, the Lindo man, who we discussed in our episode of Brad Pitt and Mummies, he also had whipworm and maw worms. M-A-W worms.
Yo, God. Is that maw? Like they have big mouths, I'm
I think
guessing?
so. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
like in Dune, those worms in Dune, but
Oh.
microscopic versions? Oh.
Uh,
Oh.
and then also, I mean, we find parasites in prehistoric remains and prehistoric feces, which we've talked about before, coprolites, which are dried feces.
Right.
And they've been found, parasites in dung have been found in Israel, Colorado, coastal Peru. And they even found samples from a 6,000-year-old piece of poo in Peru, which showed the tapeworm Diphyllobothrium, which comes from eating raw seafood and fish.
Oh, God. So I should stop with the oysters, huh?
Yeah.
But I love sushi.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Oh, no. Do I have to give it up?
Well, I mean, there's always the chance. I mean, if you feel
Oh,
sick
my
after it,
God. Oh.
And then they also noticed dirt from 25,000 years ago in France contained Ascaris, which is an intestinal worm, and they think that those samples in the soil most likely came from people pooping on the ground, and that once the poop washed away, the Ascaris was still left there in the soil.
Oh. God. Oh.
But then some of the, some temperate climates, they say there's some samples that they found that don't have any parasites in them. So it's always, you like to gamble,
Yeah.
right? Do you
It's
like?
just look, you can do things to prevent it, but in the end, it's just the luck of the draw.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody
Somebody
could have eaten
brings
that.
ribs, and suddenly
It really was. Because I wanted to cut I was on the call with a client and I couldn't get off the phone and I was mad because I knew all the ribs were going to be gone by the time I got down there, and it ended up being a blessing.
What was left? What did you have? Was somebody always brings chili and potato salad. Like, what was there?
Yeah, a lot of chips. Everybody always brings the chips.
Yeah.
And then there's the obligatory vegetable platter that they pick up at any grocery store.
Yeah, you just rip that plastic shield off of it and you're good to go.
Yeah,
it's got the dip already.
Yeah. It is nothing. You can't taste anything in there.
No.
So they had that. So I had that, and I was a little upset and went back to my desk. And then the next day, and then actually, to make matters worse, I was the only guy that showed up the next day.
Yeah, so you had more work.
Yeah.
God damn it.
But anyway, John, those worms are all the parasites that are within us. But our ancestors also had parasites on the outside of their bodies.
Yes.
So we're talking about things like lice, fleas,
ticks.
Yeah.
Leeches. You ever had a leech?
I've fished with leeches before, and I know that they'll grab onto you, but I've never had a leech.
I had a leech on my leg. I was I was in Australia hosting a show called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And I came home because they had me. The show was in the deep jungle of Australia, which was like a quarter mile away. There was like a casino, and they put me in a lovely apartment there. But I came home and there was like this black thing. I'm like, what the fuck? And it was like, and I flicked it off of me, and it was blood there. Ooh!
Oh my God!
Ugh.
Were you in the water or just walking? Because you were up on the catwalk or something.
Yeah,
right?
but then just getting up there. I don't know how it got on me, but it did.
Wow.
I even had gaiters on, those things that protect your, it still got in there.
Oh, those poor celebrities down there though. Do you think they probably got something?
Oh, God knows what but some of them were so toxic that even leeches wouldn't adhere to them.
Who was the most impressive thing was when, what was her name? Alana Stewart.
Yes.
Stuck her face in a like an aquarium with a Australian possum.
Yes,
Remember
she
that?
did. Yes, she did. That's crazy. I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't do that either. And just
Downtown Julie Brown got in a vat of leeches. We're talking about that's probably where I got it. She like splashed one and it like got on me.
Oh God.
Oh, that was.
I give it to him for that.
Oh God, I was just like, oh man, anything for fame.
Uh, in the book Parasites, Tales of Humanity's Most Unwelcome Guests, Rosemary Drisdale says that millennia ago, when humans were nomadic hunter-gatherers, continually moving from place to place, the only successful human parasites were those that spent their entire lives on human hosts.
Yeah.
And she said, and then lice, fleas, skin mites, and pinworms are their contemporary equivalents.
Oh my God.
So you can.
I've never had lice. Have you?
I've never had lice or
Yeah.
even crabs. Can you talk? I've
Crab,
never had crabs.
never had crabs.
And I don't even know what a pinworm would.
No, I don't want to know. With a name like Pin?
Yeah. And in the 2015 article titled "Are Parasites and Vermin Reveal Secrets of Human History?" Rae Ellen Bichell says that because parasites and humans evolved together, researchers can use the DNA from parasites to help double check and corroborate important events in human evolution.
Wow.
So it's like you could kind of compare the timeline between what's happening.
We're in a dance. We're in a dance throughout time.
Yeah. And she says, for example, that louse DNA, the singular of lice,
yes,
has been used to determine when humans lost their fur and started wearing clothes.
Yes, I was gonna think. That's when
really?
You said that they could, double check things. That's what I was thinking when we started to lose our hair.
Yeah, and especially pubic lice. They could look at the DNA of pubic lice.
Oh, can you imagine you get your PhD and you end up looking at pubic lice?
Just what you would talk about at parties.
And you find it fascinating. It's like the people who are studying the prehistoric poo. What do you do? Oh, I'm an archaeologist. Yeah, what do you have a special? Yes, I do. Yeah, what is it?
I just read, there was an article this week. I'll have to send it out. I'll post it to the Facebook and Instagram. But it was a guy who has the largest collection of coprolites in the world, and he lives in Arizona. So it's the largest collection of dried poo or petrified poo in the world.
Maybe we should do a live remote with him and go to the poo house.
I have to look it up. He has something called the Pooseum.
Oh shit! I'm there. Let's live from the Pooseum. It's Intro to Anthro with two humans.
Yeah. We may have to go out there and interview him and talk and take a tour of the Pooseum.
That would be amazing. I love that idea.
Yeah. So Bichell says that by the point that anyway, they could look at the different DNA of different types of lice, because head lice are different from pubic lice genetically, believe it or not.
Okay.
And so they can tell that going back to when those two species of lice separated is probably the time around the time period when we started like losing
hair
on most of our bodies except on top of our head and in our pubic area.
Why does that hair exist? What is up with us? We're like skin except for hair in certain places. What's that all about? How did that evolve and why?
I don't know. I mean, people talk about maybe it's friction, or maybe we're in the midst of it. Maybe it's too soon. We're looking at it. Maybe at some point we'll all be bald.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I mean, you look at like how people describe aliens that, like from hairless. Maybe they're, completely hair. Maybe that's where we're heading.
All right. Okay.
And so definitely our prehistoric ancestors had parasites like ticks and fleas.
Oh yeah.
And also grooming was probably something that was very important.
To them. Yeah, just like we see I know we shouldn't compare ourselves to what we see in the apes and monkey arena, but they are always picking each other's fur.
Right. And again, William Haviland and other anthropologists say that grooming is the ritual cleaning of another animal's coat to remove parasites and other matter. So it was definitely part of our culture, our prehistoric culture. And Haviland says that it's also a social gesture of friendliness, closeness, appeasement, reconciliation, and even submission.
Yes. It feels good to be groomed. It's like the tingler. Do you know the tingler? What I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do love the
thing. It's those wire that I don't know how to describe. Wire crown that you slowly pull up your head and it tingles you. But the thing about a tingler is you can't tingle yourself. Have you ever noticed that? If you try to tingle yourself, it's not the same experience. You got to be tingled by somebody else. I wonder if that's connected to us being groomed, like we just like it.
I don't know. I remember sometimes they have the tingler like attached to a battery operated, basically a vibrator. Right?
What? I've never seen that. And then you could just tingle yourself?
I think I don't know what people, they probably take off the tingler part and then just use the vibrator part.
But, wow. I've never seen a tingler with it. Mine have all been manual.
So, in the book Chimpanzee Politics, Franz de Waal, which we've spoken about Franz de Waal before in episodes, but he's a bonobo expert.
Yes, we have. I remember Franz now.
Yeah. But he says that male chimpanzees tend to groom each other during periods of tension.
Oh, okay. That's nice. It calms them.
Right. Or, it's somewhere socially, it's some way to diffuse the situation.
Yeah.
So he says that his research has shown that grooming peaks between pairs of males coincided with periods during which the relationship between them was unstable.
Yeah. No better way to get on somebody's good side than to pick louse off of their nether regions.
Right. And it's
lice. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not louse.
So he says that, despite all their confrontations, two rivals spent about 1/5 of their time grooming each other.
Oh, that's sweet. I love that. I
was thinking maybe that's what we need for, like, politically.
Yeah. We should all just be picking little things, getting a demo decks out of our eyelashes and picking crabs out of our,
across the aisle. Everybody just lay down and
lay down and relax. We just get a chain, a big long chain. Everybody do the back in front of you.
All across the country. One day, just one day a year, it would diffuse everything.
Oh, that's great. I love that idea.
And he says that in his book, Bonobos, the Forgotten Ape, he says that bonobos in captivity in San Diego were seen to approach another bonobo and slap their own chest with their hand or clap their hands a few times in front of the other's face before proceeding to groom them.
Yeah, you don't want to come up on somebody. You want to let them know you're coming. You want to get a sign off before you come up and, pick some crabs out of their, pubic area.
And he said, you don't just start in.
Don't just do it. Don't surprise me.
And he says that sometimes the other bonobo claps as well. Kind of like, okay, come on.
Yeah, let's do this. Yeah, that's good.
But it's mostly the groomer who claps hands or feet together during concentrated grooming. So he's like serious about it. Like, I am going to groom you now.
This isn't just, we're not playing around. Sit down and get comfortable. We're going to be here for a while.
I keep trying to think of that. Like, if you're ever about ready to get in a fight or an argument, just like at a bar, just clap your hands and start picking at the person's hair to try to diffuse the situation. Yeah.
Make sure they clap back, though.
He says that the San Diego Zoo, where those bonobos are, is the only place he's ever seen that, though.
Oh,
so that may be like some crazy bonobos.
Yeah, that's just a San Diego thing.
Everybody in San Diego is that way. Just clap, and they learned it from the humans.
That's what the bonobos do in San Diego.
And then what was kind of interesting, he also mentioned Haviland. He said that different chimpanzee groups will have different styles of grooming. Okay.
Whoa.
So, for example, one group they studied groomed each other face to face, meaning they were looking at each other face to face, and
I know what face to face means. Yeah.
and holding one hand. So they would groom with one hand and hold each other's hands.
Listen, so. That's sweet. You and I did that once on a camping trip.
Is that what you called it? That was just a trip to a drive-in with you.
I got the tick out.
Yeah. And also sometimes he said chimps will like there's certain leaves that this spilia leaf, and they'll use that to scrape it. They'll swallow it without chewing it, and to scrape out parasites from their intestines. So they know about them. They know that the parasites are in them.
That's crazy. Somebody learned that you eat this leaf, and it's gonna get some of the. That's crazy. How did somebody figure that out?
I don't know.
Figured that out, or
maybe it just made them feel better or something after. But they said that they don't really. They swallow these leaves without chewing them. So
Jesus,
yeah,
is that something I should do? Should I go out and get a leaf off my tree?
I don't know. Just try some copy paper. Is your printer in there? Just try that.
Or maybe a coffee filter, like a coffee filter.
Yeah, chew that. Don't chew it. Just swallow
take it like a pill, like a big pill.
Next week I'll be on the show by myself. I'd be like, I have some bad news. So again, parasites have obviously been with us throughout human history, especially prehistory. But what effects have they had on humans? And in the book People, Parasites, and Plowshares, Dickson Despommier, who's like the parasite guru, he's like one of the top guys.
Yeah.
And he says, ever since we became a species some 200,000 years ago, parasites have been responsible for untold amounts of human suffering and countless deaths.
Wow.
And he adds that some experts believe that Homo sapiens almost became extinct as the result of epidemics caused by malaria, which I think is what you were talking about.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
That coincided with a time when our numbers were perhaps as low as 400,000 individuals.
Wow. And the mosquito almost took us out.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. It's such a oh man, what took your species out? A little bug.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is, man. It's never those big things. It's just man. Just like the pandemic.
Somebody was saying.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you.
No, somebody was saying that you think of the lion being king of the jungle, but the lion is like full of parasites and worms and everything. Ugh. And ultimately, the real king of the jungle is like a little tiny, tiny bug.
God. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
So what about during the historical period? Or no, you were going to ask about viruses.
I was going to ask, are viruses, do they count, as a parasite?
One of the, they definitely live off of people.
Yeah.
But, one of the, again, a distinction that one of the books I was reading made between when we usually talk about parasites, we're talking about animals.
Yeah. And to me, it's something that, well, I guess I was going to say that can live on its own and then attaches to you. But I guess a virus can be spread through the air.
I think you could consider it, or bacteria, for example.
Yeah. Well, haven't we had certain viruses passed on from that are just have been a part of humans for millennia.
Yeah.
That just live with us. So God.
We'll have to do one on diseases, like viruses and diseases.
Okay.
So,
But let's put some happy stuff in between. More socks.
Yeah. You see why I like colorful socks?
Yeah,
the world's a horrible place. You put on colorful socks, you feel better.
You're absolutely right. I'm going to go put a pair of Watson and Company socks on right after this, just to remind myself that life can be good.
I'm going to put them on my hands too. I'll put socks on my hands and all over.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So how about during the historical period? And again, in the book, Parasites, Tales of Humanity's Most Unknown or Most Unwelcome Guests, Rosemary Drisdale says, the big break for parasites came when humans began to stay in one place. So with permanent settlements, suddenly the mosquitoes had a regular food supply.
Yeah. That's what's happened here in LA. There's these little tiny black mosquitoes. There's one in here right now. And it's just this species that's infiltrated Los Angeles. It's ruined it. It's ruined my city. I love LA. Yeah. And these little mosquitoes have really ruined it.
Wow. And there's one in there. If you can, try to coax him over.
They're really small and black, and they're hard to kill too. And they bite repeatedly. They're just nasty.
Do you get mosquito, like the bump? Does it cause a bump? Or
yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Mary's Terry. She gets bitten by a mosquito. They just go crazy on her.
They just love her. Yeah. I'm sorry. That's not fair.
We went to a barbecue at some friend's house here, and they live down by the river in Albuquerque. And I didn't get one bite, and we came back. Mary had like 50.
Oh, 50 my God.
Yeah.
What did you put on her? Like the nail polish? That sometimes helps. Or the...
Really?
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff people do. I don't know.
I think we did the old calamine lotion. Yeah. Tried that for a while.
It's that or suicide. Those are about the only two you got.
Yeah, with that many. It's just so itchy. But the other thing, when people started living in one settlements with like agriculture, as we've talked about in our garbage show and also agriculture or food show, waste and sewage started piling up, and also you had domesticated animals in there.
If you stay put, that's when it happens. A friend of mine got crabs from sleeping in a motel room.
Sure he did. That's what he said. No, I think bed bugs are really bad right now.
Right? Bed bugs are the worst. Yeah.
You travel a lot.
Yeah.
You travel a lot. Are you always worried about bed bugs and hotels?
Not till now. Now I will be. No, I hadn't thought about it at all.
You may be spreading them all over the place.
I know. Maybe I'm the guy. Yeah.
Patient zero. That would be, wow, that would be really good.
I love hotel rooms with the nice clean sheets and no family to bother me, and I can just watch whatever I want. It's some of my favorite times of my life have been alone in a hotel room.
Me too. I have a friend though who before he came to work where I work, he managed hotels. And one time we were sent off for training somewhere, both, and we each had our own rooms.
And he told I was
stories. I came out and I said these rooms aren't bad. And he goes, well, it's a little dirty behind the dresser. So he had already pulled out the dresser and everything. It was
He probably has one of those purple lights he brings with him.
In the book, The Rituals of Dinner, Margaret Visser says that our word parasite actually comes from the Greek words for bread with or beside wheat.
What? Okay.
And this is the same word that in Latin, the Latin version of it is companion, which means to eat with. Okay. And what happened was the original meaning of it was in Roman society, there were parasites that was a person that would be invited to dinner.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
I see. That's great.
Yeah. And it's, the parasite would just hang out and eat off the table of a rich man.
Oh, I know those people.
Remember in The Great Gatsby, there was that pianist over at Gatsby's house.
Yeah, always there.
Who was always there. They didn't know what he'd play a little tune every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why today parasite means someone who lives off, or an animal who lives off others, or a creature that feeds on another animal, who is also known as the host. It all goes back to that Roman time of the person.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And in Roman society, parasites could never become hosts. Like, it was all the social hierarchy. Once you were a parasite, you just remained a parasite.
To parasites? There's got to be, right? There's got to be some parasite living off of a tick somewhere that's dead on a head. Oh,
yeah. There's little ones that live in that, like I think in fleas and lice too, in their intestinal tracts. They have little ticks.
Oh, well, good. They deserve it.
The other thing they say is in Roman times, the parasite, it was usually a demeaning position.
Yeah.
So you would be invited and you would have dinner, but they'd put you on instead of a chair, you'd have a stool, for example.
No.
Or everybody could make fun of you.
Wow. Wow. Jesus. Brutal. See? This is why I don't want to go back in time.
Right.
Everybody's so mean.
And they say if your job was just the rich guy would make fun of you, and you were supposed to flatter him and just talk about how wonderful he was.
Oh, I do that all the time. I'm the parasite.
I was thinking that. I'm like, that's not much different from any other job I've ever had.
I kiss the ass of rich people all the time.
And then that's why, it's come to where we talk about parasitical relationships, or we have economic parasites, political parasites. Anytime somebody's living off of somebody, sucking the life out of somebody.
Yeah.
And usually now, in an article called The Parasites We Humans, or it's a book, The Parasites We Humans Harbor, Aaron Klein says that to call someone a parasite now is usually meant to be an insult. Like they're not contributing anything.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Who's the parasite in our relationship? Who's the host and who's the parasite?
I don't know. I think we've switched off.
I think we're both parasites and we can't find a host.
That's probably
it. On each other.
That's probably it. That sounds like that's the play we need to write.
Yeah.
Two parasites instead of
waiting for Godot or something.
Waiting for Godot, yeah. Two parasites searching for a host. We just demean and belittle each other, back and forth. Wasn't there one? There was a play, I can't remember, like 6 characters in search of an author or something like that.
That's an absurdist play. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know who
I read it. I can't remember a goddamn word of it though.
Just get ready for 2 parasites in search of a host. And again, in historic times, usually the job of trying to get rid of parasites from the house, like lice and ticks and everything, or fleas in the house, that usually fell to the women of the house. That was their job, to go around and try to
get rid of all of it.
And there were a lot of paintings done in Europe in the 1700s showing women looking for fleas on their bodies. Yeah.
Oh, God. A lot of paintings.
It was a common theme to have women looking for fleas on their body, because it was a very intimate situation.
I see.
Like they're kind of pulling down their blouse,
right,
sticking their hand inside their shirt.
Right. They're touching their bodies.
Right.
That's just so gross, though.
There was a guy named Giuseppe Maria Crespi, who was an Italian painter, who did like a number of these different paintings. And again, if you didn't know that it was somebody looking for lice,
it was kind of sensuous.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool, actually. I mean, the painting can hit you on 2 levels. That's so interesting,
right? And he has one. His famous one is called "The Searcher for Fleas," and it shows a woman in a house in bed picking fleas off of her body.
God.
And then there's a dog on the bed, and in the background there's a man feeding a baby. And the subtext is all that they're all living off of somebody else. They're all feeding off of somebody else. So and again, they say that a guy named Cole, or Lucinda Cole, who's an author, she says that parasitical relations need to be viewed as temporary alliances, as elements of a system that come together, disrupt previous arrangements, and then are disrupted.
So at some point, the parasite host relationship needs to be disrupted. Is disrupted,
right?
Interesting.
It becomes disruptive itself. And in his 1935 book, Rats, Lice, and History, Hans Zinser said that...
Hans Zinser. He pitches the name of the book. It's like, Hans. I don't know.
I think
that's what it's about. I know.
Don't. Just tell him what it is. Just tell him what it is.
That's the way I am.
His book, it's interesting. It was 1935. So he was a social, I think he was like a health expert or something. But sometimes he veers off into, like, he just takes liberties with, like, telling a story or something. So at one point he's like, we don't know what the louse is thinking, or the effect that the louse has had on humans, like we do the effect that George Sand had on Chopin, for example. It's like he just kind of goes crazy.
Well, but he's not wrong. I mean, who knows? But yeah, no, Hans.
But he says parasitism in its origin means a breaking down of that opposition, which normally every living cell complex offers to invasion by another living entity. Yeah. So, in other words, usually we're trying to keep something out or keep something away from us. And these parasites come in and they break down that barrier between us.
Yeah. Gross.
And then, in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, people would often put herbs and flowers around their beds to try to keep parasites away from the beds. No. No, not at all. But I guess
it's nice to have, smells nice. It's nice to have flowers.
Yeah. Zinser, again, when I talk about him kind of like taking personification a little too far, he says that the louse lives, quote, blissfully irresponsible.
That's true, that son of a bitch.
And he says that, quote, under his feet is an inexhaustible supply of the food he prefers, and he has but to sink his hollow stylet into a tender skin to procure his 2 or 3 daily meals.
Oh, God. It's like a straw that sticks into us. It's like the mosquito kind of thing, same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And then Zinser, he again going over the top, he compares it to Rousseau's Noble Savage.
Oh, Hans.
Leading a physically and emotionally unrestricted life. And he says, to the louse, each newborn child is a possible virgin continent.
Oh, my God.
Which will keep the louse a pioneer. And then in his book, 1851 book, London Labor and London Poor, Henry Mayhew interviews a guy who was a street performer. And what he would do is he would set up a microscope and then have people come up and look in the microscope, pay to look in the microscope. And one of the things that he would always show would be a flea or a louse for people to look in there. And just to tell you how bad it was back then is like one woman, like Mayhew's interviewing the guy. And the guy says, after seeing the flea, one woman threw up her arms and screamed out, "Oh, Jesus. And I've had hundreds of them in my bed at once." Oh. And he said, again, we know how street performance works. As soon as she started screaming, he said she got a lot of customers.
That's right. That's what you do. you get people to clap or laugh, and then you get more. Or in this case, scream.
Right. Right.
I love
So
the
let's.
idea of a guy making his living just setting up a microscope. That's
I think you.
fantastic.
I think you could probably still do that
Yeah, you're
myself.
right.
I think,
You're right. You're right.
And so we'll take a look at some of the parasites that people have always been in contact with that may have had some effect on our history.
Well, we got to start with Alien from the movie Alien.
Yes, people always do talk about that.
Oh, it's the worst. It's the worst because it lays eggs inside you and bursts out. It's playing on the whole parasite, the phobia that we all have.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then just when it came up through burst through the chest or whatever, remember that one?
And it screamed and then it's waddled off and then it turns into this other horrible thing.
Yeah.
That lays eggs that then starts it all over. Oh, but that spidery thing, crab thing that jumps out of the pot and grabs your face and sticks something down your throat. And
what was it? It was,
Oh, that really affected me as a kid. That first movie, that really, because I was, Scott Freiberg had Cinemax, and that was like one of the first movies I saw on Cinemax. It's just to this day.
It's so awful. It's so awful. Yeah. I wonder, does it still hold up? Have you seen it?
I haven't
recently.
No, I'm not going to go in again. Well, you know what? Maybe I should. I liked the second one. It was like an action movie with Sigourney Weaver. She was in both. But then things went south.
I didn't see the other one.
No.
I saw the first two, I think.
Yeah.
So in the book Parasites, Tales of Humanity's Most Unwelcome Guests, Rosemary Drisdell says, we humans believe that we orchestrate our own affairs, good or bad, and that events are steered by action or counteraction, turned by decisions of world leaders or collective will. But she says, on a social level, parasites affect everything from exploration and war to food regulations and terrorist plots.
Wow.
And one of the examples she gets is the Ascaris lumbricoides, which is a stomach worm, and they've actually found these stomach worms and blood flukes in like bricks from Bronze Age settlements.
Jesus.
Yeah, and so she says that one theory that they have about the fall of Jericho in the Bible, or historically, is that they think that maybe, or this again is just a hypothesis, that the people in Jericho had been, getting water from the same well for generation after generation, and it's possible that these stomach worms were in there. And so the worms were actually affecting like how long people lived. It was affecting birth rates. And so by the time that Joshua, by the time Joshua and the Hebrews came, it's possible that there was no way that the people of Jericho could resist because they had just been these parasites.
Oh my God.
And then another example she gives is Captain James Cook, the explorer in the 1770s.
Yep.
And James Cook, apparently when he was younger, was like everybody, all of his crew that kept journals would always talk about what a nice guy he was. And how beloved as an officer he was. And then towards the end of his life, he was ultimately killed in Hawaii, but apparently he started
having a mutiny, right? That took him out, or was it?
No, he went to punish some people, I think, for taking a goat or something. And when he got there on some island in the Hawaiian Islands, he just pissed people off, and they killed him. Yeah, but that was one of the personality changes. Is that people were saying that, he would just become very violent and combative at a certain point. Like he had a thing
you. That's like you.
Yeah.
You turn on me.
One of his punishments was he'd always have him flogged and have his ears cut off.
Jesus.
God. And then they said at other times he just seemed like he was disinterested in the whole voyage. You know what I mean? And so they think that he may have been, and one of the theories is that he may have been infected with the parasite Ascaris lumbricoides, which is a large intestinal roundworm.
Oh, how
Yeah.
large?
About a foot long.
No!
Yeah.
No! Oh, God.
Well, the worst one is I read where whales have the largest tapeworm in the world. A whale tapeworm can be 120 feet.
No!
Yeah,
That is
yeah,
wrong.
yeah. Human
Oh.
tapeworms usually get up around 20 feet if they're in there for a long time.
God. Jesus.
But in 1979, the Vice Admiral Sir James Watt, who was the medical director of the Royal Navy, hypothesized that James Cook had been infected with Ascaris lumbricoides, and the worm larvae had migrated to his brain.
Wow. That's like RFK Jr.
Right, exactly.
Oh, man.
And then finally, there was Necator americanus, which is the American hookworm. And in his book, Despommier says that these are tiny gut-dwelling, blood-sucking worms.
Jesus.
And the hookworm is also found in Africa, and they think it was brought to this country by the slave trade.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it enters through a hair follicle. And a lot of places where there's hookworm disease are places where people, and usually children, don't wear shoes.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
My son didn't wear shoes until he was in kindergarten. Really? I'm not kidding.
Thank God.
And even then, it was, man. But that explains a lot of his behavior. He's got to...
Well, they'll get into they'll catch onto your feet. Like if you stop, they'll burrow through the skin in your feet or follow a hair follicle.
Damn. That's so wrong.
Yeah.
You talk about Captain James Cook.
Yeah.
What's really odd is that Captain James Kirk from the Starship Enterprise, in one of the movies, the Khan movie, they put things in their ears.
Oh, yeah.
And it made him crazy. I wonder if that's inspired by the Cook.
I don't know. That's crazy, though, to think that, I don't know. That, again, just playing on that fear that we have.
Yeah. I want to find out how RFK Jr. found out he had worms in his head. Because I want to find out if I have worms in my head.
I guess they did a CAT scan or an MRI.
So I've got to get an MRI. I don't know if I want to find. I don't know if I want to find out if I have worms in my head.
It'd be good to know, though.
Really? I don't know. Maybe it could excuse a lot of behavior. Hey, sorry, I have worms in my head.
Oh, okay. So do I. Everybody's like. But one of the things in the South where it was endemic, this hookworm disease, people always had this idea of like Southern laziness throughout history, or like, people were those Southerners are slow or something. And Despommier says if you wanted to see somebody with severe chronic hookworm disease, or what they could have possibly looked like, he says it's in the movie Deliverance that the guy playing the banjo.
Oh, wow.
Remember?
Yeah.
And so people always attributed that to like just something in the Southerners or something. And then at the early 1900s, somebody finally put it together that it was anemia, like chronic anemia caused by severe hookworm disease.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that could change the course of history. When you have an entire population who are lethargic and not very bright.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And it was nothing to do with their mental faculties or it was because they had hookworm disease.
My God. That's incredible.
That's where they started building outhouses that were 6 feet deep. They originally started building outhouses that were 4 feet deep, and they realized the larvae could crawl up to 4 feet.
God. Jesus. But if you do 6, they can't do it.
They can't do it. So they started putting outhouses in there and making school kids wear shoes in the South in the early 1900s.
And it changed things.
Yeah. Changed
My
things.
God. I wonder how much that would have affected the Civil War in different ways. I mean, that's just insane to think about.
That's one of the things people have talked about was the Civil War of, like, did it have an effect on the Civil War?
Yeah.
But Despommier quotes Mark Twain, who wrote at the time, the disease induced by the hookworm was never suspected to be a disease at all. The people who had it were merely supposed to be lazy, and therefore were despised and made fun of when they should have been pitied.
Yeah.
Which I think is a
so
great quote.
Tragic.
Yeah. So, anyway, John, coming to the end of our discussion, looking at what's going on in the country today with all the, aggression.
Yes, maybe we're all infected by something. Invasion of the body snatchers.
Yeah, we all have worms. You know what I mean?
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And all we need is a little conflict resolving grooming.
There was a movie called The Hidden. You ever see it?
No.
Great movie. It's it's like these two aliens that are chasing each other throughout the galaxy, and the way they exist is they get into a body and then take that body, and one of them's a criminal and one of them's the cop trying to catch him.
Yeah.
And they're both these worms that just crawl in through the mouth when they want to take on a new body. Kyle MacLachlan, I believe, is in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a good one. Highly recommend. The first scene is incredible. I'm not going to say anything about anything. I highly recommend The Hidden.
What's it? Well, I guess the thing is it's a way to keep your budget down.
Yes.
If you have some big star, it's like.
Oh yeah, when you see the worm, it's real quick. They're like, rub some Vaseline on it, make it shiny.
But Mary and I were watching, it was one of the riff tracks or something, and it was from the 70s, and like the biggest star could turn himself invisible.
Ooh.
And it would just seem like such a great thing that, like, anytime he doesn't want to shoot, you just have
You're not coming in today? Fine.
We'll do all the fight scenes where you're invisible.
Yeah, I'm going to do a little rewrite on the scripty.
All right. The other thing, John, I just want to say, I don't want to eat anything now.
Yeah, I know.
After this episode, I'm just...
Definitely not bear.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But we do both want to put on a pair of fresh socks.
Yeah.
So thank you, Watson and Company. And they do have a Facebook page.
Do they?
They do.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you again to Watson and Company. Socks, be sure to check them out at watson.co.square.site.
Yes. And this is human number 2 signing off.
And this is human number 1. Thank you again, everybody. We love you. Check out the socks, because the sooner we make this $1 billion company, the sooner we're all having drinks under the Watson and Company pavilion at the Yeti Love Convention.
That's right. We'll be the Parasites to the Watson and Company.
Exactly. Love you guys. Love you, John. Thanks,
Love
everybody.
You.